My name is Mariah Fletcher. I am your host, and welcome to the DEbrief, where the DE brings the news to your ears. This is our Sex and Love edition. This week, we will hear from the DE staff about our top 3 stories of the week. I'm here with reporter Kristen Borchers, who attended a meeting last week held over the evolution of the Grand Tower Energy Center that has been vacant for almost half a decade. This center burned coal and used natural gas. A new company has bought Grand Tower, and now there is potential for the building being used as a data center. Tell me about what is going on.
I went to the Jackson Union County Port Authority meeting last week, and they had a phone conversation with an employee from Perdomo Worldwide, who is the current owner of the plant, and they were just kind of hashing out like what are the possibilities of, what they'll be able to make of this plant since it's been closed for a few years now. And the general consensus was that it's kind of leaning toward a data center. So everything is very soon still. Everything's still up in the air, but the general consensus is like a data center would be the most feasible option of future development for the plant.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit more about what a data center is to the people who aren't quite sure?
Yeah, so a data center is essentially just, I kind of think of it like a giant supercomputer. It's just, an off-site computer that's processing all your information that you search through AI or, storing your information in different locations. It's a lot cheaper for companies to have the information spread out like that. That's essentially what a data center is.
So if this were to become a data center like they are thinking that it is, what would that mean for our area?
Yeah, so data centers, they have some pretty big environmental concerns to kind of monitor. So the two big concerns are water usage and electricity usage. Data centers, depending on the size and scale of them, they can pull like anywhere from 1 million gallons of water per day to 5 million, maybe even more. And then, at Grand Tower, if they had to pull water from the Mississippi River, which they were discussing at the meeting, they would have to filter all that water to get all the sediments out and everything. So, yeah, that's going to be another issue that they're going to have to figure out how to deal with. And if they were to pull water from like the groundwater or Grand Tower's drinking water, then that would kind of deplete the city of Grand Tower's water availability. And then with electricity usage, that could potentially put a pretty big strain on Grand Tower's grid and maybe even raise their prices. Definitely something to monitor. But then again, we don't know what scale of a data center is going to be able to be housed at the Grand Tower power plant. So everything is still kind of up in the air. But yeah, some things to monitor with environmental costs for sure.
So I heard that you spoke with a few experts for the story. Tell me a little bit more about what they were saying about this.
Yeah, so for this story, I spoke with a SIU professor. His name is Jonathan Remo, and he is over in the environmental area. And he has been studying the Mississippi waterway for pretty much his entire career. So he said he kind of knows it like the back of his hand. We just kind of talked about the implications of flood risk at Grand Tower. It's specifically at risk because it's below the floodplain, so it's in that 100-year floodplain risk, which means it's got a greater than 1% chance annual risk of flooding. So the dilemma there is that in order to house future developments of any kind, really, not even just a data center, they would have to raise the ground level at least 10 feet, which is a lot of land. But there is a local, I think it's called Fountain Bluff. It's got a giant mound of land. They could harvest minerals off of that. That is. I spoke with him, and he had a lot of knowledge about the Mississippi River, which was really nice.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much for speaking with me today. Your story was awesome, and I can't wait for people to check it out. I'm here with former editor-in-chief and now senior editor, Lily Gibbs. And Lily, I heard that there might be some love in the air.
Hi, Mariah. Thank you so much for having me. And there definitely is. My story this week for the paper was about these two SIU alumni, Charlie McCann and Marcy Allen. They met in physics class in 1965, and it took them 47 years to realize that there was chemistry between the two of them. And they've been in a relationship ever since. So the pair were sat next to each other in Brown Auditorium in a class of 250. They were in the top rows, kind of far away from the bottom where the professor was. And they were sat next to each other. They used to seat by alphabetical order, and her maiden name, McGuire, is why they were sat together. And they met. They were friends, but they were both, she was in a relationship with her high school sweetheart, and she went off and married him, and he went off and married another woman. And they both lived in Murfreesboro, so they saw each other from time to time. But unfortunately, within 4 months of each other, both their spouses unexpectedly died. And so they kind of reconnected almost through grief. They attended each other's spouses' funerals. And after that, they kind of started texting, and they both told me, they said, we were, like Marcy, for example, she goes, Charlie was the only person I remember from college. And he said the same thing about her. And so, yeah, the pair met, and she sent him a text one day, and 47 years after they had met, basically, and said, I think I found a time machine, and it is set for September 23rd, 1965, and it'll take me back to Brown Auditorium. And she gave him 1 hour to get up there, and within the hour, he met her there, and they've been together ever since.
Wow, that is a beautiful, beautiful love story, and I love that they can reconnect after all these years and find something that they love about each other.
I know,
wow.
And they still honor their late spouses. They both wear their rings from their first marriage, and yeah, it's very beautiful. They were so sweet to talk to. They talked to me for an hour. We met in Brown Auditorium, and they sat in almost the seats that they met in. And they said that every year in September and in May, they come back to Brown Auditorium to visit. And they say, we normally come in and there's nobody here. So they just have the room to themselves. But yeah, it was a lot bigger of a classroom than the original seats that they sat in obviously aren't there, and it held a bit more people. But yeah, they try and revisit on both anniversaries that they met.
And did you take any pictures of them
I
over
did.
in Brown? You did?
I did. Of course, that's my specialty. So after we chatted for an hour, I had them sit in I tried to have them gauge on where they the seats that they met in were, because again, they weren't there. And they sat, and I took their picture, and they were great. Yeah, it was such a lucky story to find, and their love story it's just so unique, and the way that they reconnected through grief and after all these years, and still felt the same energy. And she actually, when she Marcy reached out to me, she told me, she goes, we met in physics class, but it took us 47 years to find out if we had chemistry. And I guess she says that often. So of course that inspired the headline for the piece as well.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And
yes,
I can't
thank
wait.
You guys.
Can't wait for everybody to read it.
Read our lovely edition.
I'm here with our editor-in-chief, Miss Carly Guest, and I heard you were running around all last week trying to figure out the last-minute Valentine's Day gifts that we have in the area. So tell me about it.
Yeah, so I wanted to work on a story about how local businesses are helping people celebrate Valentine's Day. So I started thinking about some of the elements that come to mind when you think of love. So love songs, romance novels, flowers, baked goods, things like that. And so I went to Quick Magic Gardens, which is pretty close to campus. It's in the Grand Avenue Mall, and they're selling flowers. And for Valentine's Day, they have a deal where if you come in store, you get a 20% discount off any of their bouquets. And then they also do $30 bouquets for students at SIU and John A. Logan College. And those are 8 to 10 stems. And then I also spoke with the Varsity Center, and they have a few things planned. So they do a Cinema at the Varsity series. And the day before Valentine's Day, they're showing an indie film from the 90s called Before Sunrise. It has Ethan Hawke and Julie Depley as two strangers who meet on a train and decide to spend a spontaneous night together. And then on actual Valentine's Day, they're switching things up and they're doing a shadow cast performance of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which that typically happens on Halloween. So they decided to mix things up. And what that means is they'll have the movie showing in the background, and then they'll also have a cast acting alongside the movie. And then I also spoke with Sarah Heyer, who's the owner of Confluence Books, about what romance novels they have on their shelves. They're a used bookstore pretty close to campus also, and most of their books fall under $15. A lot of them are like under $5 even. And she told me that a lot of their romance novels are older, but they also have the classics like Jane Eyre for anyone who's looking for those. And they're working to keep up with some of the trends like dark romances. And then I also spoke with Plaza Records and Cristados, which are located in the same building on the Strip. And they're doing a deal together where you can get, I believe, for $12, you can get 4 cookies and 2 45 RPM vinyls. And it's tailored to whether you love or hate Valentine's Day, because Cristados has Valentine's Day cookies and anti-Valentine's Day cookies. So you can choose if you want like the fun messages or the I hate Valentine's Day messages. And then you can pair them with like love songs or rage songs, I guess. And Plaza Records, they buy, sell, and trade mostly like used vinyls, CDs, things like that. And then Cristados has a lot of Valentine's Day baked goods. And then they're also doing some ready-to-heat meals that you can order and take home. I think that's it. I think I covered everything.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, Carly, are we on the We Love Valentine's Day train this year, or are we on the I Hate Valentine's Day train this year?
Ooh. I think I love, because I have a lot of things planned with some friends for Valentine's Day that I'm very excited for. The Galentine's Day.
We love Galentine's Day. We're unsure about Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
But we'll figure that out eventually.
Yes. Galentine's Day, for sure.
Collecting some questions for me about bartending. For those of you who do not know, not only am I a journalist, but also a bartender. So Peyton, tell me what's going on.
Hi, Mariah. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So yeah, I've collected some questions for you today. So I know there's some things planned for Valentine's Day. I have some questions about your opinions on that, but
okay.
I also have some questions about your experience of being a bartender.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So my first question, do you normally, like, are your shifts, do you ever really get a break?
Yeah, like we get breaks, but when it's so busy like Halloween, it's just, you know, you kind of just get in a flow state of doing stuff. Obviously, if we need a second, we can go upstairs, go outside, take a second, because it does get hot up there. But yeah, we do get breaks.
Okay. And do you lean into the different themed outfits for work, or are they more just work for you?
Yes, I do. I love when we have a theme night, because that means I get to play dress up for a little bit, which is honestly one of the best parts about bartending, is playing dress up and getting ready. And that's just always a lot of fun for me. A lot of the girls that I work with also really lean into those theme nights, just because it's something kind of fun for us to do, and we can get together, take pictures. So yeah, I do, definitely.
Yeah, lots of Instagram posts.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you're in Carbondale at a bar and you feel uncomfortable, what should you do?
So I always tell people to go, like, obviously, like, go to a bouncer first if it's something where it's like people are fighting, or you just have, like, especially for girls, you have some weirdo following you around being creepy. Go get a bouncer, tell them what's happening. And if you don't feel comfortable going and get a bouncer, go get a bartender and tell us what's happening, and we can try to help you to the best of our ability. There will be no girl come to my bar and say that something's upsetting her, and I will always do something for her to make her feel a little bit more comfortable, see who I can figure out who this guy is, this weirdo, because stuff like that does unfortunately happen at bars. And I wish that it didn't, but it does. But always go tell somebody who you can trust, a worker there, somebody. And I hate when girls are like, well, I told my friend and their friend's drunk and they're drunk. It's like, okay, but like, let me help you. Let me help you, or let me get somebody else who can help you out here.
Yeah. I used to be a manager at Victoria's Secret.
Okay.
A couple years ago, and we had people who came up and felt uncomfortable because there were like people following them around in the mall. And a lot, like for some reason, Victoria's Secret was one of the places that people would go to.
Wonder why. Yeah. Unfortunately, there are weirdos out there, and you got to do what you got to do sometimes to combat yourself from that. And it's awful. I hate that it happens, but I never want anybody to be uncomfortable and not tell me something that's going on because they're embarrassed or they're scared. Like, just let us know, and we're going to do the best of our ability to make that not happen anymore.
What's your favorite part about working at a bar?
My favorite part is just getting to meet a lot of people. I get to see a lot of things, meet a lot of people. I've made a lot of friends that were my regulars, and now we're friends and we text all the time. That's the best part about it, is just getting a human connection. And I know it's at a bar, but still, you meet a lot of great people.
Yeah, you get to network.
Oh yeah, networking.
Are there any questions that make you roll your eyes at the bar?
Only one comes to mind, and that would be when people are like, can you put a little bit more alcohol in it? Because no, I like actually can't. I can't do that, and I'm pretty sure like there's enough in there, it's okay. And then they wink at you, you're like, put a little bit more, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. Thanks though.
And then my last question would be, what's your favorite mix to go into a Valentine's themed drink?
Fun. So I know that Valentine's Day colors, that's what everybody wants out of drinks, but my favorite like sweet, fun, girly drink for like Galentine's Day, amaretto is great. And everyone always orders an amaretto sour. But if you take amaretto and put it with pineapple juice or orange juice, or even both of them together, it is so good. And it's just sweet and it's perfect. It's for the girls that like the sweeter drinks and not like the beer girls. But people always order amaretto sours, and I always want them to venture to try like an amaretto pineapple or an amaretto orange juice because it's so good.
Okay, I've had an amaretto sour, but I'll have to try that.
Yes, so good.
All right, all
right. Thank you, Peyton.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Do you have a favorite romance movie? We went around Carbondale Strip and SIU asking community members and students what their favorite was. Check out the full video on our socials. I am your host, Mariah Fletcher. See the Daily Egyptian online at dailyegyptian.com. Our print edition is all around campus and Southern Illinois. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and LinkedIn. You've got questions and we have answers. Send us your questions and opinions at editor@dailyegyptian.com or DM us on Facebook and Instagram, and we might just answer your question next week. In the meantime, this has been the DEbrief. See you next week.